Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews of newly released films, please check out our channel Reviews Without Remorse on YouTube and VidMe. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show. And welcome back to Unlucky episode number 13. As always, I am your humble host, Joe, with my co-pilot, Dave. As always, what's up, buddy?
I thought God was your co-pilot. You lied to me.
Today's episode, we will pay a tribute to a legend that we lost this week. Dave will talk about that. And then it is part 3 of our Die Hard series, Die Hard with a Vengeance. And Vengeance Without Remorse. That's how we,
Yeah, we should have called ourselves Vengeance Without Remorse.
Well, bye.
we lost an icon this week.
I would say icon. You know, let's go through a small list. First of all, this man's first really big role, he played the part of Reverend Jim Jones in the story of Jim Jones, the Guyana tragedy. That was like the beginning of his career. He followed that up with Southern Comfort, Red Dawn, the Philip Marlowe TV series on HBO, one of the first TV series that HBO had, which I loved growing up. Tombstone. For God's sakes, he was currently Bill in Tombstone. By Dawn's Early Light, I mean, he was Alexander Haig in the Nixon movie. This man has had the most amazing career as far as I'm concerned, and we lost him. I tell you too, it's funny. Well, obviously we're talking about the actor Powers Boothe. Yep.
And it's funny. I remember every time I would see him, I would always sort of say to myself, where have I seen him before? Like, he was always a guy who I you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think it was that Philip Marlowe TV show. I think I remember that from when I was a kid.
Yep.
Red Dawn. You mentioned Red Dawn. That was one that I always remembered him in.
What started it?
I don't know, 2 toughest kids on the block, I guess. Sooner or later, they're gonna fight.
That's simple.
Maybe somebody just forgot what it was like.
Great actor, and I tell you, it's amazing that he's gone, because I felt like the last time we saw him, or last time I remember seeing him, which was in the Avengers, he looked not much different than he did 20 years ago. And yeah, and I tell you, he was a really good actor and had really good presence. And I remember, I feel like every time like they would cast an actor for a superhero part, I would always, pretty much every time they cast somebody as a superhero, Powers Boothe is always the guy I sort of go to, particularly in superhero movies. I say, that's what they need to go for. Like, he's got these strong features, and he's a guy who seems like a grown-up. You know what I mean? Like he's perfect in Red Dawn, because he seems like the quintessential grown-up. Mm-hmm. Like, he could be not that many years apart, necessarily, from another actor, let's say. But he's got that kind of grown-up presence, you know what I mean?
Has for a long time. I mean, he was only 68 when he died.
Yeah, not too old. That's kind of a shame.
No, not old at all. And he had that wonderful speaking voice, and he could just.
He did.
I mean, if you ever want to see some of his best acting, there was a TV show on HBO called Deadwood, where he played the part of Cy Tulliver, and he was just amazing. Like, 1 minute it's like, oh, he's so charming, and the next minute you shit your pants at the way he's treating people. He's just such a brilliant guy. Yes, he was on the Avengers. His last bit of stuff that he did, he actually had a very. He reprised his roles from the Avengers on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he had a great arc and an amazing end. It was a very well done part. That's pretty much the last thing he did before he passed. The Sin City movies. He was Senator Rourke in the Sin City movies.
Yes.
The Hatfields and McCoys. That TV series. 24. MacGruber, that stupid MacGruber movie. He was Gorilla Grodd in the Justice League animated series from 2000.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Gorilla Grodd and Red Tornado. Yep. He was always working. The man, if you look at his IMDb page, every year he's got at least 2 or 3 projects going on. What a life.
Yeah.
I mean, how much more could you ask for? He's no Tom Cruise or anything like that, but for an actor, he was always working. He always had a job. How amazing is that type of career to have?
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, just great presence. I kind of wish I wish that we saw him more, like the subsequent Avengers, because I felt like, it's funny. I almost felt like Robert Redford sort of took over his character.
He did. I agree with that.
He should have done that. I mean, and again, I love Robert Redford. I mean, he was terrific, excellent, in fact. But yeah, I kind of would have liked to see Powers Booth sort of reprise and expand on that role a little bit.
I get the feeling that was originally what they were going for, but I think the Russo brothers, when they decided that they were going to do the Winter Soldier in a 3 days of a Condor thing, they really, really wanted Robert Redford to kind of like really mesh the whole 3 days of a Condor thing. So I can understand that, but they still made good with his character in the end. They made it like, oh well, he left the security console, blah 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 blah, and so on and so forth. Whatever. It's all good. It's all good. I can deal with that.
Agreed.
But besides that, rest in peace, Powers Booth. Man, you were the first hard-boiled detective that I ever met at the ripe young age of 13 in a TV show. Yeah, there had been all those old movies, but Philip Marlowe was my first real exposure to like that type of stuff at such a young age, and I used to enjoy it so much.
And playing a role that was made. Well, I mean, it was a famous role anyway, probably, but theatrically made famous by Humphrey Bogart. Those are some big shoes to fill, and I think he does a pretty damn good job.
He does it damn fucking well. Farewell, my man.
In the hands of a mastermind of terror.
I want to play a game with Lieutenant McLean.
What kind of game?
Simon Says.
The path to revenge leads straight to John McClane.
If we don't do it, this guy says he's going to blow up another public
Well, why me? What does he got to do with me?
I have no idea. He just said it had to be you.
Die Hard 3. Die Hard 3.
Oh, this is kind of where it starts, isn't it? I mean, it kind of, I kind of feel like we've had, a very solid start, a decent middle, and now here we are. And this kind of feels where, like, the train starts to wobble a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, it wobbles a lot, frankly. I frankly say that it was already off the tracks, really.
Oh, it wasn't. Okay, well, the history of this particular film script is allegedly, and I haven't been able to find anything that backs this up, but allegedly this script was conceived as a Lethal Weapon movie. And Richard Donner, I guess, basically said, no, this is not a Lethal Weapon movie, go screw, or whatever the case may be. And this got
and rightly so.
Yeah. And rightly so, and got adapted into this whole new experience. And it's an experience, all right? And it kind of proves what I've been saying about John McClane. I don't think this is a Bruce Willis movie that just happens to be called Die Hard. And it's not even a good Bruce Willis movie. Hudson Hawk has more quality to it than this movie. Okay? Because, for all of Hudson Hawk's foibles, and we should review that someday, for all of Hudson Hawk's foibles, I found it to be entertaining. And I was laughing throughout that movie.
I did too, actually. In fact, I saw that in a movie theater. I think I dragged some friends to go see that, and frankly, I was giggling the whole time. But that's just me.
Good. Then we're on the same page with that. But here we are, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Bruce Willis, for whatever reason, is back in New York. He has now separated from Holly. He's on his own. He's a New York cop again, and he's walking around Harlem with a white sign saying, "I hate."
Frankly, how this was even supposed to work as a Lethal Weapon film, I mean, obviously they changed things around for this, but even as a Lethal Weapon film, I think this would have been dismal. Yeah, well, first of all, like you said, he is now estranged from his wife. Yeah, so I remember all those things you rooted for the last two films, forget it.
Yeah.
Gone. Just throw that away.
Family? No, the family's not important anymore. John McClane's a lone wolf.
Right, yeah. We're back in New York, and a New York that, to me, seems very unlike New York, frankly, but I'll get to that later.
Boy.
This film, to me, there's a part of me that just wants to bag on and call it awful. At best, though, it's mediocre. It does not feel at all like a Die Hard film. Now, the first two Die Hards, smartly, the first one was in a building. claustrophobic, right? In an enclosed area, had a good sense of geography, worked really well. It's, again, the quintessential action film, okay? 2, to me, was a good follow-up. A good follow-up. A B-plus effort to recapture a lot of the things from the first one. And in a lot of ways, they did. Not, it's hardly a perfect film, but it's a good follow-up. I got my die-hard adrenaline going when I saw that movie. Not to the point of the first one, but whatever.
Yeah.
Here, I'm watching this. This starts out, and I'm just kind of like already. Nothing is going. The whole intro with him in Harlem. Yeah. Oh my God, is that terrible? I mean, when you saw it, you laughed. And you're just. I mean, it was an uncomfortable laughter. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna admit this, and people can take it any way you want it. When in the movie theater, he turned around and there was the sign. I kind of went ha, and then I quickly looked around, and I was like, okay, I can't laugh anymore.
And you're pointing at some guy down 2 rows down. It was him. No, yeah, I mean it was a weird scene. It was, again, for what it is, it's funny because he's gonna get clobbered any second. But enter Samuel Jackson, who, in my mind, seems so far removed from anything resembling a Die Hard film. He was starting to get pretty popular at the time, and I think they just wanted to throw him in there. They were in Pulp Fiction together.
Yeah.
Not sharing scenes together, but in the same film. This was the post Pulp Fiction time.
Yeah, which I'm sure some film exec was like, "Oh boy, we get the 2 guys from Pulp Fiction back together again." Oh, I'm sure that was probably what they were thinking.
Sure. I mean, Bruce Willis is fresh off Pulp Fiction. It was a big hit. And frankly, I think some of the violence in this film is sort of amped up a little bit, probably because of Pulp Fiction, frankly. So, but again, my problem with this film is that I'm hard-pressed, other than John McClane being in this. Nothing about this film feels like a Die Hard film. Like you said, it feels like a Bruce Willis film, and not even a particularly good one. Mm-hmm. It's boring. Where are the action scenes in this film? I don't find it very exciting. I mean, if this was on TV tonight, right, and I'm flipping past it, I am not stopping. It's as simple as that. In fact, that's actually, it's funny. My rating system, I always say 5 is go see it, below 5 is don't. Mm-hmm. Probably another way to say it, if you're flipping through, anything above a 5, I will probably stop and watch. If I got nothing better to do and I'm flipping channels, above a 5, I will stop. Below a 5, I will not. And honestly, and I'm not predicting my score or anything, but frankly, I am not stopping to watch this film. It's not like if you sit there and like if you walk into a room and this film is on, right? Like a lot of movies, you're going to say, "Oh, did I miss the scene with this, or did I miss that scene?" In this one, there's not like is there any scene you can remember that you'd say, "Oh, did I miss this scene yet?"
If I'm being honest, I thought that the scene where the train blew up at the station, I thought it was very well staged because it was very obvious they tried to use a lot of practical effects in that scene, and I always appreciate that. It was still dull, but it was nice, and it's not something that would make me stop flipping the channels. I would rather watch SpongeBob than watch that. I would rather watch Teen Titans Go with my kid because actually Teen Titans Go is better. This movie was the follow-up. I think this was like the desperation movie with John McTiernan. His way of trying for Stella to get his groove back, because he had 3 hits in a row. He had Predator, Die Hard, and The Hunt for Red October. I mean, talk about like a trifecta of movies. And then he followed up The Hunt for Red October with Medicine Man. That's the Sean Connery, Lorraine Bracco movie about saving the rainforest. Okay. Uh-huh. All right, but then he followed that up with Last Action Hero, which I happen to feel Last Action Hero ages better than we gave it credit for at the time, but it was a huge box office failure.
Yeah. Well, it's basically a spoof on action movies, which is kind of not what we wanted at the time. It's a comedy, really.
Yeah. At the time we didn't realize that. I appreciate Last Action Hero more now than I did when it first came out.
Okay.
Oh, we're doing an episode on that one.
Oh, please don't, maybe.
You just tore your shorts on that one, son. I'm making it happen. But then, Last Action Hero tanked. I mean, seriously tanked. So this was next. This was like the long bomb, I guess, for him. Mm-hmm. And he really, after this, his next big hit was like the Thomas Crown Affair 4 years later. And he's not done a lot since.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, too. And I remember when this film came out,
I remember the commercials on TV, and I remember hearing McTiernan was back, and the only shot from the commercial I really remember was the car chase when the car's spinning, and as it spins around, there's John McClane with the arm out the window, boom, 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 firing a gun backwards. I thought that was really cool, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Yeah, and then I saw it, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, in context, it really, by that point, I don't think you had investment by that point in the movie. I mean, here he is, he's in this car, and it's like, I'm taking the fuses out so the anti-lock brakes come out. It's like, it's really not as simple as that, but you go ahead, John McClane. You go ahead and try that.
Yeah, what was that? I don't remember that part.
So most modern cars have anti-lock brakes. It makes spinning a car nowadays much more difficult. Mm-hmm. And so the conceit was they were trying to explain how this brand new Mercedes, which was probably a frickin' licensed product that they put in the movie, is able to do this 360, or something like that. Because we're a car about safety, so you can't just do that. It's like, what if we say that he dismantled it? It's like, okay, I'll allow that. Probably something along those lines. But yeah, and they made a point to do it. It's like, I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't pull these specific fuses out. It's like so you're in the middle of a damn car chase. How the hell do you pull the right one? How the hell do you not pull the one that turns off the dashboard or something like that? Come on. But I mean, even the plot. I mean, they want to pretend like the plot is very Die Hard 1 because number one, you have Mr. Jeremy Irons playing the brother of Hans Gruber. I mean.
Yeah.
Talk about the trope to end all tropes.
Ugh, seriously, right? I mean, that's that is such a corny cliche. Like, again, like every once in a while when somebody does it, you're like, you're really gonna do that? Okay. Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense. And of course, I guess this is like a family trade. Stealing a lot of money is the two brothers just happen to be the two best robbers.
I mean, I would like to see. You know what? I would want to see that origin story. I would watch that movie. Let's watch the origin of the Gruber brothers. Just the Gruber brothers.
Instead of Die Hard Year One with young John McClane, we'll do the Gruber brothers.
Yes, we want to go back in time and watch the origin of the Gruber brothers. That would be excellent to me. Come on, you would enjoy that any more than if they did a reboot of Die Hard or something like that.
So okay, yeah, let's go back. Let's go back and talk about the plot. Again, they drudge up John McClane, make him do these things, and because a bomb went off or whatever, we don't know why. Yeah, then they introduce the idea it's Hans Gruber's brother, and he's Simon, and Simon says whatever. I mean, you could almost see the screenwriter pitching this to everybody, saying, "Oh, this is going to be great. Look, Simon says, get it? His name is Simon."
Wait, no, that's not the sound you should make. The sound you should make should be like you're snorting cocaine. So it's like this. It's John McClane versus Simon. Like Simon says.
Ugh. And you're right. And I'll say this. I mean, the double cross part of it where they're stealing the gold, I guess is okay. But even that just seemed a little weird.
Was it okay? I mean, wasn't that just expected that it was going to be that way?
Well, sure. I mean, of course it's expected. But again, I didn't mind that because, I mean, of all the things in this film, if somebody said to me, pick one thing that seems like a Die Hard film, that, honest to God, is the only thing. I mean, that and the fact that John McClane has still got the undershirt on.
Probably the same damn undershirt, too.
That's right. The only thing that is remotely similar is there's a double cross twist where they're actually stealing something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I suppose given what happened before, I mean, John McClane should have known Hans Gruber's brother's doing this. Wait a minute, he's probably really stealing something. That's what the other guy did.
Well, didn't he actually figure that out? He actually said, "I know the family" at one point.
Did he say it? I can't remember, but I do remember. There's a scene where there's a kid robbing like a candy store or something, and he grabs a kid, and actually that I kind of like that too. I liked the idea that John McClane would grab him and say, "Hey, what are you doing stealing? Put that back," or something. Just kind of an old school sort of a motion, whatever. Yeah. And the kid says something like, "Look, there's no cops anywhere. You can do what you want." And that's when the light goes off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like,
okay. But you know what? In a weird way, that was like the most John McClane thing in the entire movie, because that's how John McClane worked even in the first one. It wasn't that he was just this brilliant guy. It's just he was looking around, observing, and he pieced things together based upon
something comes to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't, the whole idea of especially as we get to Die Hard 4 and 5, although, well, when we get to Die Hard 4 and 5, we'll get there. But, you'll see he becomes almost preternatural. Like, this is all second instinct to John McClane.
Exactly, yeah. I didn't mind that. I thought that was okay, and I thought Bruce Willis played it right.
Yeah.
That was okay. So, yeah, like, that part of the plot doesn't bother me. Well, it's actually, what's funny, though, is, like, the plot, the stealing gold part, is actually similar to Goldfinger. Like the old James Bond Goldfinger.
Yeah,
but in that film, the whole plot twist of that one was that it seemed like Goldfinger was going to Fort Knox to steal the gold. And, of course, there's that legendary scene where the two of them are sitting there talking, drinking mint juleps on the front porch, and Bond is saying to him, he says, that much gold weighs this many tons, you would need this many trucks, and you basically tell him it's impossible. You couldn't move it.
Right.
And then Goldfinger turns around and says, well, who said anything about moving it? When you come to realize all he's going to do is just drop a dirty bomb on it, so it's radioactive, and you can't touch that gold, so the other gold, the value goes up.
Yep. Great plot. Great damn plot.
Yeah, classic. Yeah, great plot, classic at this point. Now here, they decide to just go ahead with the story of guys stealing tons and tons and tons of gold.
Right under New York, in broad daylight.
Right, the center of New York City. Right, and when you do that, let's say you get all that gold onto that many trucks. And again, I still find it a little hard to believe, because again, a bomb goes off, and then they scatter the cops someplace else. So it's unattended. All right, I'm not sure I buy it, but okay. They load up all those trucks, and you have to drive it out of the center of Manhattan, the most populated area, where there are police stations on every other corner. That's a pretty big, again, and of course, like when John McClane realizes what happens, he can't just say, "Hey, guys with trucks, pull them over." It is kind of hard. It's far-fetched no matter how you look at it, frankly.
Yep, and you have to figure, because one of the little plot lines is that they've put a bomb in a school, so school is still in session, and now the news has gotten out about the school, and everybody's probably scrambling to get to their kids at the schools all over the city. So there should be the city should be like locked down in traffic from hell.
Gridlocked. Right.
Yeah. But nope, not here. John McClane does it again.
Yeah. On a regular day when Yankee Stadium is letting out, you're talking about stop dead traffic. But yeah, these trucks are flying out of the city, no problem.
And then that ending. Oh my God, that ending, which turns out to be a tacked on ending, and it's one of those rare cases. Have you seen the original ending?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, again, talk about something that has nothing to do with Die Hard at all, frankly. But go ahead.
So the original ending is basically he's living the life of luxury or whatever, and here in comes John McClane. They have a conversation, and he shoots him.
Right, yeah. Basically, Simon escapes. He escapes with the gold, and no problem. Yeah. And all of a sudden, however many months later this is supposed to be, John McClane has tracked him down, and there's like a little mini with a rocket launcher, no less, like a little mini rocket launcher sitting on the desk,
something like that,
flipping it around back and forth. Simon says this, Simon's like doing something funny, so you didn't know which end was pointing at who. And then I forget exactly. Did he shoot the rocket launcher, or did he just like shoot him with a gun or something?
I don't remember, because
but he put like his badge down too, like he was quitting, by the way, because he more or less decided just to commit murder and shoot this guy. Like he's not being threatened at all. I just came here to kill you.
It's one of those rare cases where I'm watching this quote unquote original ending, and I'm like, okay, I understand why you changed it, but you changed it to this. To the helicopter? What the hell?
Well, first of all, for a film, Die Hard 3 again is the second sequel to the greatest action film of all time, in my personal opinion.
A 10-10, we both gave it.
You decide to end Die Hard 3 with a conversation over a desk. And literally, and again, John McClane puts down his badge as if he's quitting because he's going to murder this guy. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I'm not even sure why he's all that upset with this guy. I mean, yeah, you made him do a lot of stupid stuff. You made him walk around Harlem with a sign on you that says, "I hate N-words." I get it. But it's not like Simon killed a member of his family. It's not like he killed
Made
a
it
lot
personal.
of people. Right. There's no personal stakes in this film. So for this one to be the one that John McClane is going to quit over, possibly go to jail for murder, does not make a whole lot of sense at all anyway. But so go on. Yeah. So they ditch this one and they do the actual climax, which is just awful anyway.
Yeah, just over the border in Canada because he asked for aspirin and he happened to throw him a bottle of aspirin that just happens to be stamped with the hotel he was staying at in Canada where they were going to meet up afterwards.
Right? So dumb. Why would, that makes zero sense. Even if there was something stamped in it, If I found a pack of matches from a hotel in your car and I'm trying to track you down, all I have found is that you went to a hotel sometime in the past. Not that you're going back there for any reason that I would assume.
To be honest with you, I always thought to myself, if I was ever going to disappear, I would actually just find the most obscure bar on the planet, get their matchbook, and just leave it in my car. Place I've never been in my entire life. Boom,
Seriously.
throw them off the trail. You know?
Exactly.
Find me now, Humphrey Bogart and John McClane.
Oh my God, how ridiculous. Yeah, so basically, so he tracks him to Canada, and it's like there's a little mini shootout, and they start to get away in a helicopter, and John McClane shoots a wire that tangles the helicopter up and makes it blow up.
Yeah.
That's the big finale, is an explosion about 20 feet in the air, and then, of course, John's got to go, yippee-ki-yay, blah, blah, blah.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon. Did you know, by the way, you could get a T-shirt that says "Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon"?
I have seen them, and I have seriously thought about getting one.
I absolutely, positively am thinking about it because it's just
"Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon."
Yep. God, makes me think of that Mr. Show that used to be on HBO. Did you ever see that, Mr. Show?
I vaguely remember it. Yeah.
There was one skit that they did where they were making fun of like made-for-TV movies. Well, not made movies, for TV, and they're doing around. They're acting like mob guys. It's like, hey, you better go out and get this mother father that out there the other day because this mother father, back and forth. And it just at one point he goes to shoot him the finger, and there's this really awkward, overdub of a thumbs up instead. I mean, that's just how ridiculous it was. A little off topic, but actually it makes sense because we said it in the previous episode, but as a reminder to new listeners, in Die Hard 2, Die Harder, the TV version of Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Effer, they dubbed it as Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
Right.
Which, by the way, who the hell was Mr. Falcon?
And it's such a weird, like, the strangest dub, too, because for something like that, all you got to do is cut it after he says Yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah.
Just say Yippee-ki-yay, cut to the next part. You don't have to, why leave it in there and dub it with something else?
I don't know.
Sometimes I swear that, there is a whole industry of dubbing movies for TV, and I always feel like it's like somebody is really trying to do their job well because they'll start dubbing over things. Like, you could watch a movie on TV, and they'll dub over crap or hell or damn. And then after that you'll watch like NYPD Blue and get Dennis Franz's rear end and 10 times worse curse words and violence anyway. So it's like they used to go really hardcore cutting down movies for TV. It was bizarre.
It was, but in a weird way, there's like it's almost lost if you think about it, because one of the ones I remember the most was Smokey and the Bandit, and they had this really, it sounded like the guy who does the voice of Fred Flintstone dub for Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay?
Oh my God.
And a part of me wishes that I could find that and just listen to it again. And this snapshot, something that, and not to get into the whole get off my lawn territory.
Get off my lawn.
But it literally is a snapshot of something that's gone. I don't know. I don't watch TBS anymore. If I want to watch a movie, I'll on demand it and watch it in its purest format. If I happen to flip on and it's like, oh look, they're having a Bond marathon. Well, I got all the Bonds right here. You know what?
That's thing.
A good idea.
I'll see Casino Royale show up on like TBS or something or other. The first time a commercial comes on, I'm like, you know what? Click, and I'll just put the real thing on. Looks better anyway. I got mine's in letterbox. Theirs is pan and scan or whatever. So I might as well just watch my own anyway.
Exactly. So you kids today don't know how good you have it. But on the other side, they've lost an art form, as far as I'm concerned. The most ridiculous art form ever. Which, by the way, and I want the audience to realize this, we have just taken 10 minutes out of this show about Die Hard 3 to talk about the lost art form of dubbing, because that's how little we think of this movie.
I swear to God, I was thinking to myself, like, should we get back on track? I'm like, you know what? I have so little to say. And I hate to say it, I just have so little to say about Die Hard 3. I mean, to me, it's just such a ridiculous... again, it has nothing to do with the first ones. Here's the thing, too, and I was going to say this to the end, I might as well get into it now. The cast of characters they have to play the New York Police Department is so ridiculous.
Oh, my God, yes.
Where they find these people, like, it's such a weird combination of people. If this was the police department in, like, Wisconsin, I'd say maybe. But, like, no. This is not what NYPD cops look like. They don't have... They're not Native Americans. They're not white guys with bad Ron Goldman handlebar mustaches. It's they all look ridiculous. And the one guy who was like the techie guy, who was like the Q of the NYPD, another goober. I thought he was just kind of like, it was like they were trying really hard to show us that he's like the techie guy. It's like, it's so bad. I mean, this is like an episode of those NCIS type shows that I can't stand.
Well, first of all, the entry level for those shows is 60 and above, so that's probably why. The sad part is that the people you're talking about, they're not bad actors. It's just a terrible mismatch of them.
Well, kind of, yeah. Well, right. They're probably fine actors in other things, but don't.
Graham Greene is a fine actor. Colleen Camp has been in lots of things that I've enjoyed, and she's been very good at. Larry Brigman as Inspector Cobb, Mr. Ron Goldman mustache guy. That guy's been in a ton of stuff.
I'm sure he has. But again, like NYPD cops, no.
No, I didn't buy that. But getting back to your earlier point, we missed the Dennis Franzes. Those are that's an NYPD
sure,
cop.
Exactly, and from Die Hard 2, ironically. Like Die Hard, right? Like Dennis Franz and his brother Lenny, whatever his name was, Vinny from Die Hard 2. Those should have been and they're up in Washington. They should have been down here, down in New York City.
They were both speaking with the accent too. That was the funny part. His brother was the voice of the original Harvey Bullock in Batman the Animated Series. Yeah. I mean, completely off track. We might as well just keep going off track. I don't know. There's not really a hell of a lot to like about this movie. I love Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons, this was not for you. I don't know what the heck was going on with that accent of yours, and that every once in a while that really bad fake stutter and stuff like that. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy the forced racism angle. I didn't buy the entire plot. I didn't buy how it executed. I mean, the thing is with the first Die Hard, the conceit was that, wrong place, wrong time, figure it out as he makes it up as he goes along to get out of it. And the whole plot of it it kind of had an air of, okay, it's a fantastic plot, but at least it had an air of, okay, this has plausibility. And even Die Hard 2 still had an air of plausibility to it. But this one kind of just goes off the rails. It feels like there's no way in hell this would happen in New York. No way.
Yeah, it does, right, exactly. And incidentally, you mentioned the implied, the whole racism argument. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like just watching them constantly, like, oh, you hate white people, you blah, blah, blah. Like, again, like this is another movie. This has nothing to do with Die Hard. I mean, it's annoying too because again, like not that it even matters, but his best pal in the first one was Reginald Vell Johnson. He was a black cop. So now 2 films later, as if it's some novelty to have a black and white buddy cop thing going on, like them, like why we got to keep hearing about racism and white people and black people and like, are we like, do we really need that here now?
Oh, absolutely. It was necessary. This is a movie from 1995, and it's going to solve racism in New York.
Oh, just so stuff. So again, that to me is like people who are not from New York wrote this movie. Like whoever wrote this movie,
which you would think Bruce Willis, being from the area, could have helped him a little bit with it.
I mean, casting wise and story wise, like seriously, if you're from New York, okay, you are surrounded all the time by people of all different nationalities, okay? No one around you is probably speaking English, much less anything else. The idea that a white guy and a black guy have to try to get along even though one is white and one is black is so passé at this point. It's so far removed from anything you would.
Yeah. Even in 1995. Even
totally.
in 1995.
I mean, even in 1965, frankly. I mean, I kind of feel like I said, if you're in Manhattan, you are not concerned with the color of the person next to you. Trust me. Like, it really is like, I don't, you are not from New York if you think this is what New York is like. Believe me. You are so used to people from different nationalities, it makes no difference whatsoever. So the idea that anybody would care about stuff like that just did not make any sense. I mean, I'm not saying that a guy like Zeus wouldn't exist. I mean, they do, sure. But even if they do, first of all, it's kind of a rarity, I guess. Is that what a Die Hard movie needs? No. I mean, again, write your story to fit what you're doing here. It doesn't make any sense to throw that in here. It was another needless, like the scene where they're filling up the buckets of water. Like, they're doing this and they're kind of arguing back and forth, and then at some point it gets to be about white people and black people, and I'm just like, huh? Like why now are we going to stop? I mean, that scene was like, when you stop and look at that scene, that's boring as hell. You're sitting there with a bomb and buckets of water, two guys standing in a fountain, filling up buckets of water, pouring it in. Like this is a bomb about to go off, right? There's no tension, there's no like music, there's no impending danger, and even the two guys doing it, pouring water back and forth, they don't even seem all that concerned with it. Like they stop to argue for a minute about some nonsense. So it's like, that scene, like when you watch it, I'm like, this scene is really terrible, and it just sort of goes to show, like, just that to me is like sort of quintessential about what's wrong with this whole movie as a whole.
Simon says, get to the payphone in Wall Street Station by 10:20, or the number 3 train and its passengers vaporize.
I'm not jumping through hoops for some psycho. That's a white man with white problems. You deal with it. Where the hell are you going, McCoy? I know what I'm doing. Not even God knows what you're doing. Are you aiming for these people? No. Well, maybe that mime.
Well, let's brass tacks this, my friend. What did you score this movie?
I am scoring this one, I think, a 5. I kind of find, like I said, I mean, it's sort of, you know, I want to score it even lower, frankly, because, again, I just feel like there's really not much here, but in the big scheme of things, it's a pretty non-offensive sort of a movie.
You just talked about something that offended you.
I mean, but it's you know, I don't know. I guess it... does it officially jump the shark? Not quite. I just find it to be so different from anything resembling Die Hard that I really have a hard time getting excited about any part of it. Again, Samuel Jackson's character. Samuel Jackson is good in pretty much anything, so he's at least interesting to watch to a point in this. But he's out of place, doesn't really fit this story too well, I don't think. The action is lame. You know, there's a whole car chase through, you know, they jump into a taxi and they're driving through Central Park. That should be pretty good. It's just kind of okay. You know, nothing really exciting there. There's a whole truck sequence that happens that's, you know, again, this film is so forgettable. You know, like, you forget a lot about even what happens. But like, that truck chase is so weak.
I'm hard pressed to think of anything truly like memorable with regards to action. I think, honestly, the frickin' janitor throwing Graham Greene the keys to the school was the most action scene.
Yeah,
that
and even the scene where they find the big giant bomb or something. I remember like kind of looking at that, saying like, that to me, no, like that it was literally a bomb that was like 8-10 feet high or something.
Yeah. That they raised from the bottom of the boat.
I'm kind of like I don't know, it just didn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to leave it as a 5. Like I said, it's probably, you know, it's not quite the Rocky 5 of the Die Hard series, I think. I mean, it's a reasonably cohesive story, coherent story. Yeah, but that's really all I could say for it. There's nothing exciting about it. I don't find it to be... It's hardly the offspring of the greatest action film of all time. I'll put it that way.
No, it should not be. It should not be. Well, I gave it a 4 because by our own metrics, if I think a movie's at least, you know, relatively worth checking out, that's a 5. Okay, I can't even recommend it for that. I don't really enjoy the movie at all. And in each subsequent rewatch, even the rewatch now, just was more glaring in just how off the chart away from the original Die Hard it's gotten, and not in a clever way, and not in a way that made sense or added anything. It detracted from this movie. In a way, breaks the series. Because the whole conceit of the series was, this is a man who's not just trying to do the right thing, but it's personal for him. There was nothing personal about this, as you said earlier. And it breaks the conceit of the thing. Then, they kind of sort of get back to it with the sequels, and we'll get to those. But yeah, this broke that conceit, and as far as I'm concerned, does not make it a good enough movie in the Die Hard
fact that they
series
didn't even know how to end it tells you a lot. I mean, the fact that the original ending was so wildly different than what we actually ended up with, that says something. And yeah, this derailed that series. And again, is this something that was meant to be a franchise? Did they really foresee a lot of sequels? Not necessarily, but this one pretty much put the brakes on anything having to do with John McClane for decades.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a New York police officer. I'm going to ask you to calmly and quietly start moving towards the other end of the car.
When the theater goes dark,
Trust me, guys.
Duck.
the roof blows off.
All right, Joe, who asked you?
Who asked me? I started with the casting of the quote-unquote New Yorkers. That was going to be my Who Asked You, because again, I think that cast of characters as NYPD cops to me is just really funny. But I'm going to go with the underwater truck scene. That was little.
Oh my God!
Now again, that was like more out of Temple of Doom than Die Hard. The scene where he's getting on top of the truck and then
he's surfing the truck and he just happened to grab the low hanging grave.
Yeah. And the way that's even cut is so terrible. It's like he's surfing on top of the truck, which just happens to be moving along forward. He grabs the grate, starts climbing, and then it just cuts to where he's like,
he's just being shot up like a freaking bullet. Yeah,
and it just shoots up in the air right where Zeus just happens to be. By the way, that
and
to
how
me
his
was
skull
like,
didn't get cracked on the sewer cap. What the hell are they called?
I don't remember that. Well, I think that it blew the top off first or something. I forget, but
and how did it blow the top off first? It should have been from his skull,
right? Seeing how he's on top of the water going up, it does not make sense. That to me was like, you want to talk about which scene in that movie really jumps the shark. I feel like when we were watching that the first time and that happened, I'm like, all right, we're so far removed from Die Hard now, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, I'm with you there.
Okay, who asked you, my friend?
God, man. Honestly, if there was going to be anything, and this is nothing against the actor, I'm going to go with Sam Jackson and his character. I feel like one of the things that got away from is that on top of if the script is the script, and the conceit is Holly is no longer in the picture, the one thing that needs to be is John McClane is supposed to be like the lone wolf. He's the guy out there on his own, figuring this out on his own.
Right.
As much as I love Sam Jackson, I feel like he was a detriment to the John McClane character, and in fact brought out some of the worser aspects of his character just in their interaction together because of the whole, racism angle and shit like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a distraction. Your thing is 100% correct. I would choose that if you hadn't already chose it, so I have to go with Mr. Jackson.
You know what's funny, too, and now you got me thinking, by the way, the fact that this was originally meant to be a Lethal Weapon script, I'm saying to myself, that scene we were just talking about with the buckets in the water, where they break off and start arguing, I'm saying to myself, okay, that original script that had the Die Hard pitch, right, that's supposed to be Riggs and Murtaugh doing that, right? So now Riggs and Murtaugh, I'm guessing in the original script, they're doing this, they're trying to figure this out, so they start bickering for a minute, yada, 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 and then they get themselves back together and start focusing on the problem.
Right. Which could have worked. It could have worked.
Which you could imagine, right? You can imagine the two of them starting to bicker and then stop or whatever. Now, I'm saying to myself, now you're the writer who's tasked with changing this to be John McClane and some random other guy who has to be black because buddy cop movies have black and white guys. Now, it's almost...
diversity!
Yeah. It's almost like now you're saying to yourself, well, how am I going to make them argue? I mean, Riggs and Murtaugh, I can understand why they would argue because they'd argue about this and the other thing. Couple. What am I going to make these guys argue about? Oh, I know. He's white, he's black. They don't like each other because one is white and one is black. Perfect. And I'm like, that alone.
I'm such a genius.
That alone, frankly, should be borderline offensive to somebody. You know, like I'll just make them fight because they're different races. You know, they like to argue with each other, right? Again, somebody who's living out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, or somewhere who does not know anything about what New York is like is writing the script. I'm sorry. All right, on it. Okay, trying to bring it back to something positive, my friend. For your consideration, what do you got?
I don't have a lot. I'll go back to what I said earlier. I thought that the scene where the bomb goes off in the train station, the fact that looks like it was very practically shot. I will always appreciate when anybody does something practical, and it still wasn't exciting, but I felt like it was real. And they put a lot of work into it, and I will have to give them kudos for that. Because I can't give them kudos for anything else, because nothing else worked.
Yeah, that was one of their big, action money shots, and yeah, it was fine. Something about it to me just seemed it screamed soundstage to me, so I couldn't really get that excited about that. Yeah, of course. But sometimes they hide it, sometimes they can't. I just felt like this one sort of seemed that way, but it was okay.
It's the only thing I can give it credit for, man. What am I going to give him credit for? Figuring out how to shoot Bruce Willis up a freaking pipe with water behind him? No. Yeah. Having them figure out, pull a couple of these things to make a thing spin on the Henry Hudson Parkway? No. I mean, hell, they couldn't even get geography right. 1 minute he's going south on the Henry Hudson, then they're going north. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, seriously.
It's all I got. What do you got? What do you got that's better?
I'll tell you what. Here's my the one thing I can say about it. For your consideration, I will say Bruce Willis. I will say that I think Bruce Willis was there to work. He is still doing his John McClane character as well as he could. I think he, like I said, I don't think they give him anything to work with. I don't think the story works, yada yada. But I think he's there. He's putting in an effort. And I'll give him that much. I still felt like this was still, even though the story doesn't seem like it, he still felt like John McClane.
Do you realize that we both just gave out the equivalent of a participation trophy?
More or less, yeah. Pretty much, yes. Bruce, you did good. You played too, and you get a trophy.
Yeah. And you special effects guys, good on you for working on a soundstage.
Seriously. You showed up.
God. Oh, I never want to see this movie again.
That's all I got for Die Hard with a Vengeance. I tell you, for a movie called With a Vengeance, it doesn't really feel that way. It's a pretty watered down, lukewarm version of Die Hard, and yeah, again, and
you know what's?
I tell you what, I probably should have said for Who Asked You, really. You know what? I might even change it.
Uh-oh.
The fact that they threw Holly under the bus and is just gone, and again, 2 whole movies where we're rooting for John McClane to rescue and reunite with his wife, who he loves. Now, all of a sudden, we couldn't work it out. She's gone. And then at the last minute, at the end, he calls her on the phone, and as if maybe we're going to get like a little glimmer of some reconciliation, and maybe we get him leaving the phone, and this voice that is very obviously not Bonnie Bedelia going, "John, you asshole," or something. Oh my God, did I hate that too. I hated that so bad. I'm changing my mind. That is my Who Asked You. That the fact that they dumped her, and they should have brought her back for this one to make it at least feel something like a Die Hard film. They didn't, and again, the fact that they're estranged is, if she's not going to be in it, just say she's on a business trip or something, or she went to visit her mother. Don't tell me that they broke up after 2 films, that they broke up off screen. Yeah, no. That bugs me. Sorry.
You know what? This is great, because now my Who Asked You could be him shooting up out of the water tube from the cannon.
There you go.
Great. Now I changed mine. Now, boom. Someday we're going to match up with these things, and I'm not going to mind. But for today, no. I want the cannon, the water cannon.
There you go. Oh my God! Seriously, when he goes flying out the top of that thing, you're just like, what am I watching? Like a Bugs Bunny cartoon? Like you're half waiting for him to like bounce on top of it.
Coyote.
Yeah.
I was more waiting for him to like just fly in the air, put up a sign, ridiculous, isn't it, and then fall back down.
Right.
This, as they say, is where the plot thickens.
They knocked over the Federal Reserve.
All right, well cut this out of... I'm glad that we have this on audio recording so that we never have to watch this movie again.
The funny thing is, it gets worse. We haven't even gotten to the worst yet.
It does.
Yep. Just not to. Is anybody surprised?
Bruce Willis, Jeremy Irons, Samuel L. Jackson.
Congratulations. You're still alive.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother... In a John McTiernan film, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
John McClane, NYPD. Are you all right?
Yes. Laundry day.
All right, my friend. Another one. Good episode.
Another one bites the dust. Booyah!
Next week, we will be back to discuss Die Hard 4 or Live Free or Die Hard.
Die Hard 4 or Live Free or Die Hard?
Live Free or Die Hard. Otherwise known as Die Hard 4.0.
The name alone is not really inspiring me, but okay, let's get up. I hope we do a better series in the future.
We will, my friend, we will. All right, amigo.
All right, good night, my man. Also, great to talk to you about this. I do love doing this, even when they're bad.
Same here. I'll see you here next week. Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. And be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube and VidMe for spoiler-free reviews of new releases, as well as in-depth discussions of current and classic cinema. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page at patreon.com. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are used for commentary and critique, and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.